And in at number 10, we have Steak Kick Sauber. And that might be a surprise to some, but for myself, I think they struggled a lot last season, and I believe it's going to be more of the same for them. They do have, in my opinion, a better overall driver pairing of Hülkenberg and Bortoleto, but I think they won't really kick on much this year in preparation for next year as Audi. So that is my reasoning for why Sauber are in P10 in the Constructors. And now heading on to number 9 in the Constructors, we have Alpine. And I think that one won't be much of a surprise to all of you guys with the pairing of Gasly and Doohan. I believe Gasly will drag them a little bit higher with a few good finishes throughout the season. But overall, I think that Doohan will struggle in that Alpine seat. And with a very competitive, close grid and close number of drivers, I think that will be the difference for them to drag them slightly lower than they would like to finish in the Constructors Championship this year. And now, heading on to number 8 in the Constructors Championship, we have Visa Cash App RB, who might be changing their names to Racing Bulls, we don't know yet. But with the partnership of Yuki Tsunoda and Isaac Hadjar, I believe this is stronger than the two we've had beforehand. And they do have a slightly stronger car, but it is a little bit of an unknown quantity as to how quick they will be this season, along with how well Hadjar performs in the RB. But you can't fault Tsunoda, he's usually very consistent. But for me, these next cluster of teams, they were quite closely matched, and it was quite difficult to choose the following teams in this list. And with that, on to number 7 we go, as it might be a surprise to some of you, but Aston Martin are going to be my team in 7th. I don't believe they're going to kick on too much this season from what they had last year. I'm not sure as to how much of an influence Adrian Newey will have on their setup, and if anything, I believe they're going to have a much bigger step forward for the 2026 season. With the pairing of Alonso and Stroll, I can see Alonso once more being the obvious standout driver of that pairing, and Stroll not really contributing too much towards the points. So this is again why I have them down in 7th. There are a lot stronger driver pairings in the midfield, in my opinion. Now, this might be a surprise to some of you out there, but number 6 we have Williams Racing with the pairing of Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. I think they're going to take a big step forward this season. Not necessarily in the car performance all too much, maybe slightly, but specifically the driver performance with Alex Albon in many years gone by being their number 1 driver. They now have Carlos Sainz coming in as well, who for me could be equal to Albon, but I actually see him being a little bit above Albon's level. So naturally, rather than having crashes week after week with the likes of Sargent, Latifi back in the day, also having Colapinto, who also had a few mistakes, I feel like Sainz is a more sure pair of hands and will be able to deliver points on multiple occasions throughout the season. And this for me is one of the strongest matchups for the teammates in the midfield, so that is why for me Williams are 6th. And in 5th, it's no surprise for me, we have Haas F1 team. They have a very strong driver pairing for this season. 2 new faces to the team, Ocon and Behrman. Both for me fantastic drivers. And we have already seen Behrman in Formula 1 in a Ferrari and a Haas. So we have a little case study as to what he's going to be like in F1 in comparison to other drivers, for example, Hadjar and Bortoleto. But I think that their car as well is showing signs of improvement. They've made some structural changes to the management, which has also showed to have worked so far from last season, and has feel like a team on the up right now. So P5 for me wouldn't be out of possibility for Haas. Heading into the top 4 now, we have gone with Mercedes-Benz in 4th place in the Constructors, with another rookie joining the grid this season with Kimi Antonelli and the familiar face of George Russell. For me, it will be quite close as to who will finish P3 and P4 in the championship. Not much to separate these cars, and for me, I think the driver performance for the first driver to the second driver in both teams will also be fairly similar, but we'll have to see which way round they finish at the end of the 2025 season. But for me, I think Antonelli will have some flashes of brilliance, but also some very silly mistakes in there, as accustomed to a rookie season. And following on from that one in P3, similarly to Mercedes, we have Red Bull Racing with Lawson as a rookie in Formula 1 as well. It is very difficult to predict how he will fare alongside Verstappen. You can imagine Verstappen is going to be on top of his game throughout the season, but not quite having the performance under him of previous seasons. It will be interesting to see how they will manage throughout the season. I expect them to be slower than both of McLaren and Ferrari, but they should be in a close battle with with Mercedes, in my opinion, which means we only have 2 teams now left to predict for the constructors. So the runners-up in the championship that I've gone for are McLaren, and I believe the performance between McLaren and Ferrari will be fairly tight this season. However, I believe the driver pairing of Norris and Piastri will come ever so slightly short, and over the full season I think the experience will slightly lack for them. As you saw last season, they did fail to capitalise on quite a few moments where they could have gained points on Red Bull, and instead Red Bull ended up holding the gap or even extending their gap. So for me, that's why McLaren will be P2 in the Constructors. So now we are down to 1, and that one is Ferrari to win the Constructors Championship for 2025. Now with the dream team pairing of Leclerc and Hamilton, I see consistency, lots of knowledge, and also just lots of experience under both of their belts, speed and lots of intelligence. And over the course of a full season, I see both of them finishing above both McLarens. So I think they're going to blow all of the challengers away this season. And also Ferrari having a lot of rumours that they will be much quicker than last season as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But for me, Ferrari will be the 2025 Constructors Champions.